Hello, my name is Margaret Graziano, and I'm the founder and president of Keen Alignment. Keen Alignment works with executive teams to shape the kind of culture where even the CEO can be proud to work for. High performance, healthy, and breaking through barriers. Today I have with me Kisha Winter, and Kisha Winter is one of our guest coaches for our Ignite Power Women's Leadership Program. Kisha, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hi, I am Kisha, as she said, and I'm working with women through different organizations to help them really own their power. So what I say is that we help high potential corporate women own their power so that they can get confident, get promoted, get paid, and get hired. And I also work with organizations to develop inclusive cultures and effective leaders so that their best talent thrives regardless of what their background is.
Thank you. And how did you get into empowering women and empowering inclusion? What was your journey like?
It's interesting. I spent 20 years in corporate in various HR roles, from talent development, leadership development, diversity and inclusion, compensation and benefits. And throughout my career, I realized that there were really some unspoken rules in order to get to the next level professionally that I was unaware of. And because of my lack of knowledge, I really played small. I operated in really this place of shrinking. I did things like just work hard and thinking that working hard was a strategy. And what I didn't realize that besides working hard, there were other things that I needed to work on. One is building my confidence, really understanding that because of my unique background, because of my difference, that I actually brought value to the table. And then even beyond working on the confidence piece, I didn't really understand tactical strategies that it took to get ahead professionally, from building a broad network of board of directors, from working on my personal brand, as well as getting visibility so that I'm not the best kept secret in town. And so that is what I actually work with women to understand, is really to develop a 4-step process of understanding what it is that you need to do from a mindset standpoint, overcoming self-doubt and fear, and then a tactical standpoint in order to get to the highest level that you want to get professionally, whether it's senior leadership or actually getting to the C-suite.
It's so interesting because in our Ignite Power program, the whole thing is about giving women the tools they need to unlock the wealth of talent that's already in them and unleash their human potential, and giving them access to operate at their highest level of intelligence. And even for me, I'm always on a journey. And I notice even for me, and I'm a public speaker, I speak probably 20 days a month, I record videos. There is this thing in the back of my head, well, I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to promote myself too much, or I don't want it to be all about me. So I allow Keen Alignment and Margaret Graziano to be a best kept secret. And it's a non-stop, I would say, wrestling. It's like I move beyond it and then I find myself back again. So what do you say to women who are accomplished, who are living their life's dream work and still hold themselves back?
I mean, the reality, and I love that you're so transparent about that. I will label myself as, an ambivert. But I do get my energy from being alone, from reading, etc. And so naturally, I wouldn't be the first person you pick to put on a stage. And just like you, I am a speaker. However, one of the things that I tell women is to understand what your internal motivators are. And I know you're very familiar with values work. It's understanding what is the value that you want to bring. And a lot of us are motivated by contribution. You don't get into the coaching and leadership development space without wanting to help people get to their highest potential. And so if you want to help women get to the next level, it's what I tell myself. Or if you're in an organization and you want to really just bring your highest value and bring impact to the organization, is to understand your why. understand your drivers, understand your motivators. And so, for example, me, while I don't necessarily love being in the limelight, what I do love is helping women achieve their fullest potential. And that means I can't be the best kept secret. It means I do have to get on stage, and it means that I have to share a message. But the purpose of sharing the message is not to say, oh, look at me, how great and amazing I am. The purpose of sharing the message is to help women break through their own internal glass ceiling so that they can get to their highest potential. And when I focus on the why, when I focus on the who I'm doing it for, then I have no qualms about showing up in my full power. Plus, when I show up in my full power, I'm setting an example saying, hey, like, look at me. You know, I am not the prototypical type of person that you would look at and say, she's going to be like the top most amazing speaker, but I'm doing it. I would say I'm doing a kick-ass job of it. So if I can do it, then use it as your motivation that you can do it too.
Great. So I love what you said about breaking through the internal glass ceiling. So many women's programs that we lead, the first few sessions, the women are often convinced that the glass ceiling is coming from outside of them, from the men in the organization, from the corporate infrastructure. And in some cases, it actually is. But there's so much baggage that I carry, that you carry, that we all carry from our mothers and our grandmothers and their mothers about what a woman can do and what a woman should do and how a woman should do it and how a woman should behave. And Kisha's module in Ignite Power is about that. It's about breaking through the constraints that we hold ourselves back. So I'm super excited to even be a participant in my own program when you're leading. And then there's something else you said that it's a new word to me, believe it or not. You didn't say introvert and you didn't say extrovert. I think you said amnivert.
Yeah.
Tell me about what that means, because I think that's what I am.
Well, really what it is they say that introversion is really, it's about where you get your energy. And I will say I do get my energy both from reading and being by myself. And I feed off, like I'm feeding off your energy right now. And so there's a scale from introversion all the way to extroversion. And an ambivert is really in the middle. So it's someone that is functional in both areas, and you can flex your style in more areas. You're not overly an introvert and you're not overly an extrovert. You're more in the middle.
Well, I might have developed, is it possible to develop yourself to that? Because as a young woman, I always needed, I was like Horseshack. Oh, I got something to say. And then as I got more into meditation and this work called the 3 principles, the principle of consciousness, mind, and thought, I started to ask myself, why am I interjecting? Why do I have something to say? And so I became, I think, more thoughtful. And then, of course, as a coach, you might pass your coaching certification, but you won't be very good at coaching, I think, if you just listen all the time or if you talk all the time. And so could it be possible that I could have developed myself into this amnivert? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, ambi. Yeah.
Ambi. So like ambidextrous.
Yes.
Aha.
Exactly.
Okay,
Ambivert.
Good.
Yes, I believe that. So for me, I have the opposite story, and it's based on a lot of conditioning. And I could talk about my story. I'm originally from Jamaica, raised in a very traditional Christian family. And, women are not supposed to ruffle feathers. But most importantly, children are to be seen and not heard, right? That was, it sounds like it's a very, it's probably all over the English speaking world, I guess. The children is to be seen and not heard. And then all of a sudden I get into corporate and now I'm being told you need to be heard. And I'm like, well, I've spent the last 22 years shrinking and not ruffling feathers and not being heard. And now I'm expected. And so over the years, I've had to develop the ability to speak up, to advocate, to self-advocate, to share my opinion. Because if I don't, one, I'm going to be overlooked. My value is going to be underappreciated or not even recognized. And frankly, I was really sick and tired of meeting with people one-on-one and sharing ideas with them. And then I go into a big meeting and they're sharing it without giving any credit to me. And so I was like, well, what's not going to happen is I'm just going to feed all the information and then you're going to get credit for it. And so I guess it was, you could call it survival mechanism. I really had to figure out how to speak up and how to operate. And then even more so now that I was in HR, I was expected to lead a lot of training. I would have to stand in front of the room. And so over the years, I've just had to develop that skill more and more. So yes, I do think there is, it sounds like you probably really naturally go more toward the extroversion while I more naturally go towards introversion. But yeah,
But
which tells me transformation is possible, right?
yes. And I do find if I'm in front of a room 1 day, 2 days, by the third day, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to get on the phone, even though I love my friends and my family. I just don't want to talk to anybody. I need that recuperation time.
Yeah.
So maybe it's all part of growing up.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've shared a little bit about your journey into leadership and having to deal with the introvert and holding yourself back. What would you say was the biggest challenge in the corporate world? And then what finally had you depart the corporate world?
So my biggest challenge was early on in my career is really to just figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, right? A lot of people had, some people would see this potential in me and say, you should do this, you should do that. And without having like a clear understanding or direction of what I wanted to do, I found myself kind of, tossing to and fro in what I wanted to figure out. My first job was in credit administration. It's just like, I don't even know what that was, right? And then eventually I did find my way into HR. And once I figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up, the second challenge that I had was really not overworking myself, right? When you are driven and ambitious and, as someone from an immigrant family, me being an immigrant myself, you buy into the American dream. And I say at some point, my American dream, who would have thought that me, a little girl from Kingston, Jamaica, would be working at these Fortune 500 companies, coaching leaders, developing leaders that were currently or would be in charge of organizations that have revenues of over $1 billion, right? Like, who would think that, right? And so for me, it was exciting. And I got to travel the world. I went to Asia and South America and like all over the US and Europe. But at a certain point, I realized that I was not putting healthy boundaries in my life. I was saying yes to everything. I was also consistently working hard. There's a expression in the Black and African American community saying that you have to work twice as hard to be even half as appreciated. And at some point, there is a psychological and a physical implication of just consistently going and burning yourself out. And I realized that and it's gonna sound like a really exotic story, because here I am in Spain, right, on an island, Menorca. Most people haven't even heard of Menorca. I'm looking at the Mediterranean Sea. It's beautiful, and I should be really enjoying myself and I'm enjoying my vacation in August. And the only thing I know is I'm having an anxiety attack in my hotel room. And it was scary. I was just like, I'm here on an island. I'm not even like anywhere close to Madrid or a big city. Like, if something happens to me, what's really going to happen to me? And it really made me start looking like, you're working, 12, 15-hour days. You're not resting. You're not taking care of your emotional and your mental or your physical health. I started having high blood pressure. Like, naturally, I always had lower blood pressure. I gained weight. I started having high blood pressure. My doctor literally told me, we're going to either have to put you on high blood pressure, anti-anxiety, or tranquilizers. Now, I don't know if that was a real thing or he was just trying to scare me, but it was a wake-up call. And I said, something has to give. Like, I am, living the corporate life that a lot of people would dream of. But, below it, I was experiencing, low levels of anxiety and, mental health issues. And so that was honestly, my breaking point. I said, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? And yeah, I've achieved the American dream, but now it's like turning into a nightmare. And so that was my wake up call to leave corporate.
Yeah, so it's interesting because it seems like most companies have this unsaid rule that you will work hard and jeopardize your wellness and your family for success, and many buy into it. And what I'm seeing is the few that don't buy into it, they're not looking all the time at the results. They're looking at, well, how come they're not here at 7 a.m. and here at 10 at night? And I think one of the important things is, for the most effective people I've seen do have healthy boundaries. Yeah. And it's funny because you said in the Black and African community, it's like you have to work twice as hard. I've always felt, as a woman, I'm not an immigrant, but I'm second generation, but I was raised by Italians, and it's old school, kind of Catholic, sorry, yep. Catholic, but and I've always felt like I have to deliver more and work harder. And even now that I work on my own, I think, good boundaries. Like Magi has a break time, and I'm not working on Friday, and I don't do calls on weekends. I still feel when I am working, I deliver twice as much value, but I have learned how not to make it be twice as much time.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's just certain people or certain genders or certain heritages feel like they have to prove something. Exactly. But yeah, it would be good for everybody to learn that your financial success and your business success only last as long as your physical health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. And if you get all that money and all that success and you're 65 years old and your life sucks, what happened?
Well,
or you're dead, or you're dead.
That's the exact, I really sat, and when I was, I skipped over having to actually go to the hospital, to the ER, and they're taking all my vitals, and I'm saying, okay, so I'm doing this for all the money, but like, if I'm sick, and I'm not 65, but like, I'm still young, but if I'm sick all the time, then all the money I make is actually going to go into my medical bills. So it's like first of all, it's no quality of life. But then beyond that, it's like, what are the pressures? As I said, there's your own internal glass ceiling, right? I'm not going to say as women, we don't have things to overcome, or as a Black person, et cetera. There is bias. We know that. McKinsey did a study of women in the workplace and race in the workplace. It says literally it's going to take 95 years to get to equity. And what I say to people is, great, I'm glad you guys are working on that, and I do some work to help, but I'm not about to wait for the 95 years. And so this is why I'm empowering myself. I believe in empowering women. And as a part of that, it's not to buy into this story that success looks like burnout. And this was before the pandemic. And I do believe that now that we've experienced the pandemic for almost 2 years now, people are beginning to realize that. So,
and I think that's why there's a mass exodus. The concern I have, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but so I'll wrap it up. But the concern I have with this mass exodus from the workforce is work ethic and effort. Like you and I right now do, and every time I call you, you're on it, you're ready to move. Whether you work for yourself or you work part of a company, the work ethic, the initiative, the taking risks has to be there. You just don't have to do it for someone else. You can do it for you. So in conclusion, what are women going to get that tune in to Ignite Power from you, Kisha?
Well, we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at your internal motivators. We're going to look at why you do what you do, understand what your values are, so that you can really align yourself to your highest potential, your highest goals, not what somebody else says you should be. Like, it took me 20 years to like really figure out what I wanted to be. And now that I'm doing it, I am living my best life. I absolutely am. And so we're going to be doing this to help you figure out what it is that you really want. and what the steps that you can take to get there.
Awesome. Thank you, Kisha. We'll see you soon.
Fantastic. Thank you.